You're watching Dante's Boxing Nation.
Dante's Boxing Nation, what's going on, guys? So you guys already know that it's been reported Bob Arum is declaring a lawsuit against Powerhouse Al Haymon and the PBC series. You know, this is interesting because leading up to the Bradley Vargas fight, I was planning on interviewing Bob Arum before he came out and made this public. I was going to ask Bob, what do you think about Oscar De La Hoya suing Al Haymon? Now, since I didn't see Bob Arum at the weigh-in or the post-fight press conference, I never got to ask him that question. But interestingly enough, a couple days later, we see this report of Bob Arum basically joining the lawsuit bandwagon in the attempts of suppressing world domination, at least boxing world domination, when it comes to Al Haymon. And if you don't believe me when I say Top Rank is accusing Al Haymon of world domination in the boxing world, let me go ahead and just read you exactly what Top Rank's people said. Matter of fact, this is what Top Rank's lead attorney, Daniel Petroselli, had to say about Al Haymon and Waddell and Reed, which is an investment firm who serves as the financial backers for the PBC series. This is what Daniel had to say. Quote, Al Haymon and Waddell and Reed are engaged in a sophisticated scheme to gain control of the boxing industry. As the lawsuit explains in detail, they are violating federal law, defying state regulator and absorbing significant short-term losses to drive legitimate operators out of the business. I thought it was pretty comical how this lead attorney, Daniel Petroselli, he accuses Al Haymon of being an illegitimate operator in the business of boxing, while claiming that, of course, Top Rank and Bob Arum, they are legit operators in the business. You know, there's a very, very popular transportation company right now that is practically taking over the transportation industry. You guys may have heard of the company by the name of Uber, right? Well, like Al Haymon, Uber has taken the transportation industry by storm. Came out of nowhere. I mean, everywhere I turn, someone is talking about Uber, right? I mean, we could be talking about religion and someone will connect that to Uber. I mean, I did my video with, the media workout, Broner and Sean Porter. And Adrian Broner, he's clowning Sean Porter by bringing up Uber. So the point that I'm making is Uber is extremely popular and they are extremely powerful in the industry that they're in. Sound familiar? Allow me to continue. Now, when it comes to Uber, everyone is happy except for the competition. Naturally, right? Customers are happy because the Uber rates are much better than taxi rates, right? So customers are saving money when they deal with Uber. But not only are the customers happy, even the employees are happy. Why? Because when you work for Uber, you get to choose when you want to work. You get to choose what days you want to work. You're basically your own boss, right? Your car becomes your office. Unlike the taxi company, do you guys know that taxi drivers are forced to work 12 hours a day? And most of them have to work 6 days a week? So they have no life. They have no life at all. So just imagine how many taxi drivers would be willing to jump ship and go right over there to Uber, where they no longer have to work 12 hours a day. You guys see what I'm saying? Once again, customers are happy because they're saving money. Drivers are happy because they have more of a life. They have more freedom. Everybody is happy except for the competition. This is the exact same situation Al Haymon is in right now, guys. When it comes to the PBC series, you cannot beat what Al Haymon is doing. Al Haymon is bringing boxing back to the mainstream. Like Uber, Al Haymon virtually came out of nowhere, signing all the fighters, booking all the dates on TV, and once again, the fighters are happy and the fans are happy. The only people that are not happy is the competition and the decavs, the dumb, casual ass fans. But those people don't really matter anyway, so we ain't even going to put too much time when it comes to the ignorant type of fans. Back to Bob Arum. You know, when it comes to life, everything to a certain extent is a competition. It may be a small competition that's irrelevant, or it could be a huge competition that is very relevant, right? When it comes to these promotional companies, this is a big competition. Who can sign the most fighters? Who can generate the most money? Etc., 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 right? Now, usually in a competition, when you feel that someone has an edge over you, or maybe they're leading in points, to a perfectionist, to a person who really believes that they're the best, this is motivation. This encourages them to step their game up. Okay, Al Haymon is doing this. Okay, well, it's time for me to step my game up and do this. At least if you believe that you're just as good as your competition, that's how you feel. That would be the type of mentality that you would have. Now, if you feel deep down that that person is just better than you, they're just smarter than you, they're more successful, they have much better ideas than you ever could have thought of, then you have a different approach with countering what your competition is doing. Your approach may be more of, you know what, I can't compete with this guy. I can't beat this guy. Look at what this guy has accomplished. He's only been around for a couple years, and he's accomplished more in the last 5 years than I've accomplished in 60 years doing this, right? So when you have a person like that, their approach is different. These are the type of people who basically say, if we can't beat them, we try to destroy them, right? We've seen some of the most influential people from ESPN, HBO, try to do this to Floyd Mayweather. We've seen people try to do this to Guillermo Rigondeaux and many other people on the coincidental list. If you cannot beat them, you simply try to destroy them by changing the rules. Bob Arum is not the only person that graduated from Harvard. Al Haymon graduated from Harvard as well. And you guys must be crazy if you think that Al Haymon didn't dot all his I's and cross all his T's when he thought about monopolizing the game of boxing and attempting to do something that no other promoter has been able to do in probably the last, 40 years or so, however long it's been, and that is catapult the game into the mainstream. Al Haymon has been doubling the numbers that HBO and Showtime produce when it comes to TV ratings, right? The last fight, Broner versus Porter. And keep in mind, because this is very important that I bring this up, the Mexican fan base is the strongest fan base in the entire sport of boxing. Very strong fan base when it comes to the Mexican fan base. But it's very important to note that Broner versus Porter did not include a Mexican fighter and the card still did twice the amount of numbers that any card on HBO or Showtime has done, right? That means any card that Top Rank put together, any card that Oscar De La Hoya's Golden Boy Promotions put together, PBC, Broner versus Porter, did double the numbers, right? HBO getting over 1 million views, that is a success, right? That's a successful card they put on. But when it comes to Al Haymon, a lot of his cards, not all of them, but the ones, especially the ones on NBC, a lot of his cards did 2 million and above. Keith Thurman versus Robert the Ghost Guerrero, they said that the numbers averaged at over 3 million, but they actually peaked at 4 million. Okay? 4 million views, even if it was just 3 million views. That is astonishing. Now, some of you guys are going to say, hey, you can't compare their views to HBO and Showtime views because, of course, Al Haymon's fights are on free TV. And that would be my exact point. Because it's on free TV. Okay? I don't care. You could hate Al Haymon personally. You could be a racist and hate Al Haymon. But you would have to agree with me that it's better for all the fights to be on NBC. Imagine if all the fights was on NBC, ESPN, Spike TV, CBS, Fox Sports, etc., etc. You cannot sit here and tell me, nah, man, I prefer to pay $20 a month for my HBO subscription or my Showtime subscription, which I don't even watch the movies. I only have the subscription so I can watch all of my boxing. I prefer to keep paying that and watch my fights on a paid subscription channel. You would be a damn lie if you told me that, right? So I tell you guys all of this because this is the reason why old Bobby is fixated on changing the rules. I mean, he better do something. Bobby better do something, and he better do it quick. Because I'm seeing the same thing that old Bobby and Oscar are seeing. Which is, I'm telling you guys right now, at the rate that Al Haymon is going, it won't be very long before this man completely monopolizes the entire sport of boxing. Al Haymon is basically trying to Dana White the sport. For those of you guys who don't know who Dana White is he's the president of the UFC. Every single MMA organization that was around about 5-10 years ago, because there used to be quite a few. You had Pride, you had Strikeforce on Showtime, and Dana White brilliantly incorporated all of these companies into one, which is the UFC. This is what Al Haymon is attempting to do. Now, if it was the wrong promoter doing something like this, I would say this is terrible for the sport of boxing. But as we've seen, now that Al Haymon has the majority of all fighters, you see he's putting the biggest and the best opponents up against each other, right? I would have never guessed we would ever see Broner versus Sean Porter, right? We've seen Broner versus Sean Porter, Keith Thurman versus Robert the Ghost Guerrero. We've seen Danny Garcia versus Lamont Peterson. And there are many more fighters in the PBC series that will be going up against each other. Al Haymon is looking at this like a boxing fan looks at it. Everything that a boxing fan wants in the sport of boxing, that's what Al Haymon is trying to provide. Free fights so we don't have to pay for subscriptions. That's what the fans want, right? Boxers getting paid better. That's what the fighters want. Some of the best fighters going head to head. That's what the fans want. These are all things that Al Haymon is providing right now. So you really have no reason to hate on the man. So to wrap this up, let me just say this. I believe that this lawsuit is a complete waste of time. I believe Bob Arum should be using this time to put on more competitive fights, which he does put on competitive fights. But he should put his attention towards that as opposed to wasting money on lawsuits that he knows damn well he has no chance winning. Because if Oscar De La Hoya and Bob Arum lose this lawsuit, which they will, trust me, this will make them look even worse and make Al Haymon look even better. Because that means the law sided with Al Haymon. And the law basically said that you, Oscar De La Hoya and Bob Arum, you don't have a ground to stand on when it comes to going up against the powerhouse, Al Haymon. PBC events have already appeared on NBC, NBC Sports, CBS, Bounce TV, and Spike TV. A new monthly series on ESPN is set to begin on July 11th, which will eventually roll over into cards appearing on the sister network, ABC. As if that wasn't enough, future editions are expected to also air on Fox Sports, whose final show with Golden Boy Promotions will run Thursday evening on its Spanish-speaking outlet, Fox Deportes. So I could totally understand why Oscar De La Hoya and Bob Arum are panicking right now. This man, Al Haymon, is totally taking over the entire industry in the sport, just like Top Rank's lead attorney said he was attempting to do. That's what he's actually doing. So honestly, guys, I don't think anyone is really taking this lawsuit serious, and that includes the representatives of Al Haymon in the PBC series. Matter of fact, let me tell you what they had to say in response to finding out Bob Arum was trying to sue him. Quote, "The lawsuit filed today by Bob Arum and Top Rank is entirely without merit and is a cynical attempt to boxing's old guard to use the courts to undermine the accessibility, credibility, and exposure of boxing that the sport so desperately needs. The Premier Boxing Champion Series makes boxing free again by bringing championship boxing to free TV. With a fighter-first promise and a commitment to the fans to restore boxing to the luster of its heyday, the continued success of the effort will far outlast the baseless lawsuit." End quote. That's all I got for now. I'm on to the next one.